Welcome to another episode of Soul Nectar Show, that show that talks about all things essence, that talks about the stories that we have, the challenges that we faced in this incarnation in our lifetime, and maybe how we came through those challenges to understand at a deeper level who we really are and what we're really here to do on the planet at this time. I'm your host, Carrie Hummingbird. I'm really excited to be here with you. And I am excited today to welcome our guest, Leslie Juvin-Acker. Welcome with us today. Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on, Carrie.
So Leslie is the Chief Happiness Officer, which who doesn't want to be that? I love that title. Chief Happiness Officer. I have to change my title. I'm going to copy you. Chief Happiness Officer at Leslie Inc., where she coaches stressed, anxious, and overwhelmed senior managers, executives, and entrepreneurs from all over the world. Her message is happiness, and she helps leaders find their state of happiness with intuitive insight, practical advice, and simple solutions. And, you know, oftentimes I get the opportunity to help leaders like Leslie to reach people with their message. And I love being able to do that. And Leslie is actually getting ready to share a message with the world through a book called The Money Formula. So I'm excited to explore this today because, you know, Leslie, as a healer, and somebody that moved into the light side, of things, and kind of took that journey from corporate America and the way that it works and all of that into soul purpose, which honestly, like 40 years ago, even 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, if you'd told me that this was going to be who I was, I would have said, you're crazy. That's not me.
Right.
And then you wake up and you go, oh, that other thing wasn't me. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can feel a little bit crazy. And the movement, I know my own movement, and a lot of people are going through this in my audience, moving from, kind of a job that was based on domestication or the way that you grew up into a job based in purpose. You face a lot of money hurdles. You face a lot of money crap. And I also know, I have the perspective now too, to know that across our whole society, everybody's facing money crap. Like because the structure of it is changing. The way that we look at it is changing. The way it's functioned, that we've given it a function, we're giving it a new function. So tell us about your journey, because I know that you've also had a pretty interesting journey of awakening. So let's hear about your journey of awakening, and then you can give us some good advice, information, wisdom.
Absolutely. Thank you. For me, I was a traditional career coach. I wrote resumes and really helped people navigate their interviews and salary negotiations and all those aspects of their careers. And then I gave birth to my first child, a baby girl. And 6 weeks after, I fell into a very deep postpartum depression and anxiety. And in that process of that kind of like that vacuum, everything started to break down so it could come together. And I started to feel the sense of spirit in my life, started to get visitations and dreams from people who've crossed over, started to get, symbols like angel numbers. Those are a popular one, and started to be able to receive messages of things that were to come and to read people's energy. And even as I had always been able to see auras, but even more so, and get information from it. So it was really this transformation of, okay, I'm this regular coach who's helping people in pharmaceutical companies and, different kinds of management levels. And then what do I do with this? And I was very scared to come out, and it was a secret for a couple of years. And then I finally came out with it, and I said, hey guys, I'm coming out. I'm an intuitive. I'm a psychic medium. This is what I do. And this is how I can help. There were some clients of mine who just completely disconnected, and they're like, I don't want anything to do with that. I'm a hardcore Christian. I don't believe those things. even though there's a lot of evidence in the Bible that says otherwise. But then I got a whole new following. I got a whole new body of clientele, even more so in the high-tech industry, because these people were looking for something different. So I found a lot of purpose in that. And in fact, my business has grown even more so. So that's really my story of transition. It comes into letting go of who you think you are and stepping into who you were born to be. And that, I could summarize it in a sentence, but quite frankly, it's a journey and it's not always easy, but being who you are ultimately is what pays.
I love that. Yeah. That's why I teach Reinvent Yourself.
Right.
Because That's what I had to do. We teach what we had to do, right? Like we woke up, we went, oh, wow, this whole way of being wasn't authentic, but I thought it was, but it didn't always feel totally right, or it felt forced or felt yucky, like honestly, 20 years in high tech, I did it because that brought in money, but it didn't fulfill me. It wasn't anything that made my heart sing. And I think a lot of people are in that spot right now, and they're addicted to the money. It's like the reason why they stay in the thing that they don't like is because they're addicted to the money. Mm-hmm. And on this path, when you're, you know how it is. Let me just ask you. So once you realized what your gift was, that you're a psychic and you're a medium, mm-hmm. Could you just walk away from that? Could you just go, oh, well, I'm just going to ignore that and go on with what I was doing before?
I tried. We all try. I really tried.
In case my mom is tuning in, I just wanted you to say it out loud. You can't, right? Like, it's like every single thing in your body is like, I can't not do what I'm doing.
It's like, you're trying to train a tree, you train a tree, like, don't be an oak tree. And it's like, well, guess what? I'm an oak tree. You got to be yourself. And that was something I tried so hard to suppress that. And I really went, gung ho and trying to market myself as a career coach, because I had moved from France and I was a professor in a business school there. And then I moved from France to California and I tried to get, in the traditional route again. But as you know, when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, the universe is like, nope, doors, closing. All my old regular clients, doors were closing, accounts were closing. And then there was no clientele anymore. And then I said, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. So I got a tiny office in Oceanside. I mean, a tiny one, like the size of a powder room bathroom. And I put a shingle up and I said psychic medium, and I just started giving readings. I mean, I gave readings for like $25 for a half hour. I mean, rock bottom prices, because I wanted to get a lot of people to come in the doors. And that's when I started getting a lot of people. Of course, as I moved into integrating the career aspects and the financial abundance aspects into the mediumship and really rebranded in a way of that, then my value went up even more. And then I felt more into my purpose and what I was doing. But to answer your question, you can try, but the universe will close those doors, and you'll have to just, in a way, it's kind of like, as Christians say, submitting to the will of God and your purpose and what you agreed to do before you were born. You have to kind of just go, okay, here I am. But in the process, you end up much happier and at peace anyway, and healthier, in a greater state of well-being. So in that state of resistance, you're not making yourself healthier, happier, richer, and more abundant. You're actually taking a step back. So take a step forward, embrace yourself, do you, and continue that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You really summarized a lot of the process that I went through, because as I embraced it, all the doors opened up. It's kind of like when you get the guidance and then you get it again and again, at some point you have to act on it.
That's right.
And as you know what, the first step to acting on it is a pretty big step. Like, you really got to lift your leg way up and haul your ass up on that.
You climb over.
You really got to scramble to get up that first step, because it's a hard one. It's a hard first step to make. But then as you make that first step, actually, the new steps come in a lot easier. I think it opens that new pathway, that new prosperity stream. Let's talk a little bit about prosperity.
Yeah.
A lot of people think prosperity equals money.
Right.
Only that.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that a little bit.
Where can I start? um, it's so true. Like I said, I wrote the book, The Money Formula, and the conversation is about changing a relationship with money. But ultimately, it's about looking at what abundance means to you and tapping into your purpose and what, your spirit has in store for you. And as you read the book and you go deeper, it's not just about money, it's about tapping into all the ways we experience abundance, those relationships, because that's really what it's all about, is our relationship to money, our relationship to others, our relationship to life and the earth and its resources, and seeing it all around us. We might not have a penny to our name, but we might have great relationships that we could leverage. We might have wisdom that is also a source of abundance. And it's really about tapping into that. And in the book, I say, living a life of purpose is really where we begin to attract that abundance, because when you know who you are and what you're doing, those resources seem to come in. And that's really what it's all about. That in the Money Formula is awakening your abundance experience.
One thing I've realized on this journey is that everything you just said is 100% true. I just was like, yes, listen to her. And the other thing is that the abundance you receive may not look the way you ask for it. Like, you might think, like, I'll give you an example. So like last year I was starting the Skills Not Pills movement, and I had so much to do to start that. It was going to be a whole month of summits, interviews, right? So just a lot of behind the scenes work to get all that done. And I knew that I couldn't do it on myself. So I was like, I need money to pay a virtual assistant. That was my thought. So that was my prayer. And what happened but then what happened in addition to that is I got 2 ladies who called me up for discovery calls for my program. They ended up needing to do a trade with me. They actually each were virtual assistants. And they didn't have the money to pay me for the training, but they had the time. Now, isn't that worth it? They're giving me 6 hours a week still. 6 hours a week in exchange for an hour of my time in my course. That is helping me. I'm helping them. That is a huge form of prosperity.
Absolutely. We underestimate the power of relationships. And for me, when I'm coaching people, especially young people, I don't coach so many young people anymore, but when I was doing that with, PhD candidates and with grad students who are in their 20s, I would always say, right now, you don't have a lot of money, you don't have a lot of experience, but what you have is your social, build your relationships, make relationships where people trust you, show up on time. Those are things that cost you nothing. And those are the ways that you can experience greater abundance for the times that you don't have any time, but you got a lot of money and you need help, right? So those are the ways that you could leverage that. And I talk about all of that in the book, is about having these relationships, and we explore the dynamics of relationships in the Money Formula, is going, money's not the only thing, and think about your relationships as well, how they can make you feel more abundant. But we also have to know our own value and appreciate the value that others have, because a virtual assistant for you, that's priceless, right? So having that ability to tap into that skill and talent and time that they have is truly priceless for what you were trying to achieve and what you did achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you said that. So what's a huge conflict that you find that people have when they're dealing with money? Like what's the number one thing that people really get themselves all bunched up over?
Well, the premise of the Money Formula is really about how the conflict is with how we think about money and how we feel about money, right? We as professionals, business women, we are financially literate. We are always talking about money or dealing with money in one way or another, but how we feel about money, that could be a completely different story. You might be, for me, I took personal finance in college, business law, real estate law, and all of this types of work to understand the nature of business and money and all of that. But if my husband made me angry, I would go and spend $500 just because, like, seriously, I would go shopping, and that, because it had a context to it, Or if you, for example, there's a lot of women who's probably listening, you work so hard, you're taking care of everybody else, you're sacrificing for yourself. And then one day you're just like, I need some retail therapy. And so you blow a lot of money that you may or may not have. and you go, I deserve this because I work so hard. And that's the conflict is what you think, oh, these are the things I want. I want to have a nice house. I want to do this. And I want to move forward in my career or fulfill a dream. But then there's how we feel. And that just takes us farther and farther and farther away from what we actually truly desire. So it's correcting that conflict within that the money formula is all about.
I can totally agree with that point. A lot of the things that I faced in my journey, been really challenging. You know, a single mom.
Yeah.
That, you know, we can feel so much stress and being pulled this way, that way, the other way. And then when you're in service to other people, right? So you're always like kind of going out and being in service. But then there's the inner thing. It's like, where am I? Like, how am I honoring myself? How am I loving myself? And one of the things I started realizing was like, I would want a glass of wine, right? And I'd want a nice dinner for myself to like reward myself for doing all that work. But what did I really want? I wanted nurturing. I wanted to feel good. I wanted somebody to say, thank you. And at the end of the day, I'm the one who had to do that for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for showing up today, kicking butt on all the things that had to get done, as women do, like so often, professional working women, especially the single moms, not to diss anybody, but like that's a huge amount of effort when you have to take care of another person in addition to yourself. Someone's dependent on you and you got to provide everything. A lot of women are facing that now.
Yes, it's true. Women are 4 times more likely to be single mothers, right?
Wow, I didn't know that statistic.
And then on top of that, 44% of homes in which they're the breadwinners, that's women. That's a high statistics.
And there's still a wage gap.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a manifester, so I know that you don't want to focus on the negative, but it does still exist that there's a wage gap.
Throughout many industries, yes. And the thing about that is even women who have, and this, let's just talk about women's education, right? Women are 44% more likely, at least 44% more likely, maybe even 48% more likely to have a master's or PhD, and 25% more likely to have a bachelor's. So we are overeducated and we're under earning. Even women who go to advanced schools, you know, really Ivy League schools like Princeton or Harvard or Yale, after 6 months after, they're still making less money at the same degree. Yeah. I mean, these are things that we have to think about. And it's not about men versus women. It's about cultural beliefs about that. And one of the things I could even say even further in terms of statistics is that women are way more likely to be caretakers of aging parents, of young children, and are societally expected to be those caretakers. So not only are we doing that, we're losing time and money now, but then in retirement benefits, we're not getting that at the end game. Where in other countries, if a woman has to take time to give birth and to raise her child, she still earns at least a percentage of her income and gets that money on the back end as well. So there are cultural beliefs that the money formula talks about that, you know, yes, it's not really about the society, it's about your own beliefs and tapping into your manifesting abilities, but it's also understanding the dynamics between you and the world around you and just getting real for a minute.
I love that because this is happening on every single issue. Money is one of the core issues that it's happening, but it's also happening with race discussions. It's happening with a lot of things, right? So the underpinnings, all the underpinnings of the way we do business here on Earth right now are changing.
That's right.
And we're in the middle of the change. Actually, not even in the middle. We're at the beginning of the change.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start to think of it like a bridge, we're going to end up in a much better place. And when you're first taking that first step we talked about into a new paradigm, you've got to realize that you have to pay more attention in here to the dream and to the knowing and to yourself and your inner voice and your inner knowing than you do like what's happening out there. Because what's happening out there is going to happen. That's okay. Mm-hmm. But we're building this.
Exactly.
This thing's what we're building over here.
Exactly. That's what we're talking about in our book tour, which we're calling the Women's Financial Freedom Tour here in North County, San Diego for October and November. We're having this conversation. We're talking about these statistics, but we're also taking control back as to how you feel and how you think about money, and then aligning women with other experts to have a real conversation and to take the next steps. How can I start investing in myself? How can I make sure that I'm properly insured? How can I make sure that I'm aligning myself with a company that appreciates me and values me, that aligns with my spiritual and mental and emotional values? How can we have this conversation that's constructive for women, starting with how we think and how we feel?
And I think it's how we feel is an important part of the conversation, because feelings, there's been like an anti-feeling agenda, in our society, right? It's like, that's why there's so many anti-feeling pills. It's because, like, did you know that 44% white women, adults, like 40 years old and older, are the ones who are taking the pills? Like, the largest percentage are white women in their 40s that are taking those antidepressant pills.
Oh, wow. That I didn't even know.
It's crazy, right? And so what's that about? It's like, we're being told you're too sensitive, you're too emotional, your intuition is like, you can't listen to that because that's evil.
You're hormonal.
You don't know what you're talking about. I don't understand. There's no logic or facts to back that up, so that can't be true. Right? There's this whole thing. And really, it's women need to come into a place like you have on your journey of saying, wait a second, I actually do have amazing gifts. I'm tapping into this particular body that happens to be female. It's got twice as many emotional receptors. I feel things more deeply, more intensely. I've got a more open connection to my source when I allow it to happen.
Right.
And I've got this thing called wise woman that comes forward when I have that. And as I honor that, guess what? Things change in my world.
That's right.
And that's what we need to help women with, is knowing that wise woman, that's the wise woman knocking at your door.
That's right.
You got to put the pills down. You got to be like, no. Okay.
Don't numb yourself.
Stop telling me that I need to be fixed. Stop telling me that I'm broken. Stop telling me that I need to change who I'm being to fit into your model, because I don't.
Exactly. Well, we as children, and I talk about this in my book, is that we program ourselves from society, our primary caretakers, whether it's our grandparents or our aunties or uncles or parents, and we say, we love them so much, we believe anything that they say. And whether or not this is a traumatic situation that they went through with their relationship with money or their career or purpose or personal value, which affects majorly the self-confidence, we begin to see and notice these things as children as we're growing up. And by the age of 7, we've gotten all these programs, and we've been programmed by our society around us and our loving relationships. And we go into maturity and into adulthood and our financial relationships based on a lot of these beliefs. And we're going into helping women, empowering them that, you can take control of how you think and feel, but you can also rewrite some of those old out-pattern beliefs. So that way you don't have to feel like a slave to society or to your marriage, which was something I felt like. In the book, I tell a story is that I helped my husband. Sometimes I would help him negotiate a salary increase of, like, one time it was $70,000.
That's a big increase. Woohoo!
That's a big one. And I'm really good at that as a skill. Like, as a professional skill, I help people do that. But I wasn't doing it for myself at all. Like, I literally made the same amount of money no matter how much I worked or how many clients I had or little. And I just had this barrier, this limitation. And I tell the story of how I went back into this protocol using the money formula and realized the patterns between my mom and my dad, and how my dad made money, how my mom made money, and took that into my marriage and saw my husband the same way my mom saw my dad. And so I took these beliefs because, I believe my parents and I think their way of the world is correct. And then I pattern it into my marriage. And we don't have to be slaves to these old beliefs or society or parents' generation before, but we can set ourselves free to look at our financial relationships, our marriages, our relationships in a completely different way. And that's where our true freedom comes from.
I love everything you just said, particularly 2 points. One point being that we don't have to do it the same way. And as a matter of fact, we're not meant to. We're the
That's right.
generation that's going to radically change things. And that's what we came here to do. It's an exciting time. Everything supports us to do this work. So like, yay, like go team, do it different. And you're a frontiers woman. It's not going to look the way it's ever looked before.
Right.
You've got to be a leader. That's why the intuition is so important. That's why, I'm facing this as I lead movements, right? No, we've never done this before. This is all new. I'm the first woman in my history, biologically, that has been a leader, that has been an entrepreneur her whole life, that has worked for herself, earned money.
Wow.
I'm the first woman that's done that. So that's a huge deal. Realize that if that's you, then you're a frontiers woman. Awesome. We're here together doing this. And then the second thing is, we got to really open to remember that this is the energy. This is quantum.
That's right.
And our imaginations are powerful. We have powerful tools, right? In this imaginative, childlike space, we can totally rewrite the whole story and envision the future. And we can heal forwards and back at the same time. We can learn to do these things that, people that are sort of closed off to that ability don't know what to do with it, right?
That's right.
What are you talking about? What's done? No.
That's right. We use our imaginations all the time in every way. And in fact, imagination is the key in the secret to your wealth and abundance. That's principle number 2 in my book, actually. And we talk about how imagine we hear something negative, right? Someone says something negative to us, or they're just mean or passive aggressive, whatever. And what do? We use our imagination to rehearse everything we could possibly say to get back at them, or how are we going to respond? And we're using that mental and emotional power to go into that space. But if we could go into a different space and go, okay, what if in this imagination experience, that has no impact on me whatsoever, and I rise above that? What if we did that instead? A lot of the times, like I said earlier, we have a vision of what we want, and then we have all these doubts and all these fears, and we ping pong in between with our imagination, because your body can be here, but your mind can be somewhere else. But what if our mind and our body were in one space? And in this mental and physical space, we're just focused on what our heart truly desires and who we truly are, instead of imagining, oh, how am I going to retaliate to this person, or how am I going to avoid this problem, and that kind of thing. So you're absolutely right. Imagination is key.
Wow, I love everything you just said again. That was great.
Thank you.
That is so right. Being in the now, Eckhart Tolle talks about it. Being in the now is the place of power, because you can't manifest if you're not in the body 100%. If you're sort of hovering outside your body, dude, this is why I tell people you can't just go to the mountain. That doesn't work. Like, you can't just meditate all day, or just, escape the work here on planet Earth because it's so dense and icky to you and you don't like it. No, this is like your chance to develop some inner resilience. Like, you can learn a lot from trees.
Right.
Trees have roots, and the only reason that they don't fall over when the wind blows is because the wind kept blowing since they were little. Like, it made them strong, so they got deeper roots. And that's, all the stuff that happened to us to give us deep roots, so that we could be these massive oak trees opening up at this particular time on the planet to provide shade for others. This is our job. So I think that we need to embrace it, and realize, stop trying to escape it. Just be with, if it hurts, okay, ouch.
Yeah, go into it.
Yeah, ow, that hurt.
It's like you said earlier, in terms of medicating negative feelings and emotions. It's like negative feelings and emotions and experiences are merely an expression of something that needs resolution. So a lot of people want to avoid these feelings, and many people think that having a happy life means not experiencing negativity at all. But the beauty in living is in the contrast. And I have said in my Millionaire Mindset workshop, it's also an online class, and I've said this again and again, is that when you have a negative emotion, don't try to go around it, go through it. And sometimes going through it means going back to correct something that you once believed that no longer serves you, and then coming back with the wisdom. It's kind of like you said, the mountaintop, going into the mountaintop, but you got to bring it it back down, and you're going to have to go back down and share it with the world. You can't keep it to yourself, right? So it's a great metaphor that you said, but it really ties in perfectly that once you go to that space, you got to bring it back, and it's got to become real. You got to get out in the world, and you have to share it, and you have to acknowledge that honestly, your secret shame is your greatest story.
Oh my goodness. Your secret shame is your greatest story. That is so true. Yeah. People are whenever you do like the saran wrap thing, the spiritual saran wrap,
Yeah.
if you're okay, I'm an empath, so I feel things. Mm-hmm. So I always feel beyond like the external appearance into the center of somebody. And I'm like, oh no, that's just spiritual saran wrap sometimes. It's like that person's just trying to like cover it up or put it back there or stuff it down or hide it. And, the thing is that modality might have worked for a while on this planet, but it's not going to work anymore. Increasingly, that method or that way of being in the world is going to fail because people are intuitively opening up. Like they're starting to remember who they really are. Mm-hmm. And they're opening up this channel of awareness and they're tapping into these intuitive gifts. And as that opens up, like, as you notice in the world around you, like all kinds of BS is being revealed, right? Like, it's just like you somebody lifted up the carpet and it hasn't ever been swept under there. And you're like, oh my God, there's so much crap under here,
Exactly.
You can't ignore it anymore. Like that doesn't work.
Well, that's so true, because what I say in the book is that eventually these old programs that we get become dysfunctional. And it's like me, when I tried to deny my own intuitive abilities and who I was, it's like the doors were closing, and dysfunction happens as a result of unresolved situations within ourselves, right? There's stories that we tell ourselves that are no longer congruent with reality. Like reality is one way and we think it's one way and it's not adding up. And I talk about this. It's like, if you experience this dysfunction, don't run away from it. Deal with it. Go through it. Acknowledge it, and use those abilities that you have. Like, I'm not telling you to come talk to me. I'm giving you one protocol that you can use to figure it out on your own. And there are so many ways that you could do it. But it's really opening out to our abilities, our ability to go within, get those answers, get that perspective, and find the truth within yourself beyond what I could ever tell someone, but beyond what you, Carrie, could ever tell someone, is really going, what's the truth for me? And then, like, we said earlier, bringing it from the mountaintop and sharing it with the world in a new way that is consistent with the reality that is.
Yeah, we all give each other helping hands. That's also the premise behind the Skills Not Pills movement, is because people are surrendering their authority to doctors because we've been domesticated and trained that's
right.
The only path to finding a cure. And it's not even a cure. It's just a pill that puts saran wrap over the problem. And it's like, okay, it's still there. So only, it's like you need another pill. And that causes more side effects. And then, pretty soon you've got cancer or something really horrible because it just went down, 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 down because it wasn't dealt with. No, we're saying like, back it up. Like, deal with the thing, go through the difficult thing, go through the difficult experience because it's got a message. Like I was even thinking about your postpartum story, because I had the same thing. I had like total postpartum depression after my first child was born. Like I saw a black hole in the middle of the shower and I was like, like there's
wow,
there's a black hole. Like I'm going crazy. There's something going on. What was really going on was that all of my early childhood trauma that was unresolved got triggered and stirred up because now I'm a mother. Mm-hmm. And that happens to a lot of people. So if that happens to you out there, like that's just a sign that there's some trauma that you need to work through, like childhood trauma, and you can work through it just like we were talking about. This is one of the things I teach clients is you can go back, you can heal that inner child.
That's right.
You can, in this imagination space, you can go back and heal the inner child and kind of like, just help them come to wholeness. And as they come to wholeness, they're like your best champion because they remember magic.
Yes, that's so true. And in a way, I talk about the protocols of the money formula, and we're going back between the ages of 0 and 12 years old, and we're going and examining that. And in a way, we truly are healing that inner child and giving the resolution that that little person really needs. And it's so true. It's funny because you talk about like pills, how many executives and how many directors in like the world's biggest pharmaceutical companies I presently coach. It's not even a joke. And they come to me because they realize like those are not the only answers as well. I mean, sure, you said in our reading that sometimes pills work because we're at the same vibratory level and whatever. But without further introspection, because Edgar Cayce specifically talked about, you have to go within, you have to know yourself, your ideals, your values, and your purpose. And if you know that and you come to recognize that, then you can really come up with the solutions that your life requires from you. And not, like you said, not putting like a Band-Aid on it to avoid or to deny, but it's really about going within. And if you need to use pills, fine, but you have to have this interior journey that you must go on, and to try to avoid that, quite frankly, is moot.
Yeah, and Einstein said you can't solve a problem from the same conditions that created it, the same mind that created it.
Exactly.
So this is exactly where I got my healing, was because I learned about this power of the imagination and the energy and different senses, right? So I'm sure that these are all things that you bring clients to be aware of. Like when you want to solve a money problem, right? A relationship with money that's out of balance, it's not just about talking about it.
Right.
It's not just words. It's not just going to go talk to her and like, it's all done. No. Right. There's more to it. There's a lot of layers and different avenues in to trigger and find that energy that needs dissipating, or that belief.
Exactly. You have TV shows like Marcus Lemonis. He goes in and, The Prophet, and he talks about, a lot of these emotional or psychological or relational issues that affect the business and its brand, its performance. And that's what I do in-house for businesses. And it's the same thing as like you talking a performance issue, and like I had a COO of an international company, a Goldman Sachs profile company, and he came in and I'm looking at him and I said, he's like, I'm not getting along with my CEO. And I said, well, what I'm seeing is that there's a relationship with a boy who's about 16 and you should be buying him a car. I feel like that's the root of it. And this guy, he's a big, gorgeous guy. It looks like the dad from Incredibles. And he just starts crying. And he's like, well, yeah, I'm estranged from my son. And I haven't talked to him in a few years. And so we had to work on that relationship to create resolution with the CEO, because as I say in the book, what you think is the problem typically is not the problem. And there's some other emotional source in there that must be addressed in order to resolve this. And in fact, once he had to come to a resolution with the son, like the relationship with the CEO was just naturally resolved. So we're looking at these kinds of dynamics. And again, it's like you said, like you go on the journey, you might not even know what the source of healing might be. Like I can tell you what the protocol of the money formula is, but I don't know what your money formula is. You have to go and do that work yourself. So that's like the beauty of giving people tools, is that you're saying, okay, here's your guide pack, but you got to go on this journey. Tell me what you see when you get there.
So yeah, exactly. So we've covered so much ground today. I mean, so this is great. So I agree with you, because this is everything you're saying has been part of my own journey with prosperity, and stepping out of the old model and the way I used to relate to money and how I used to be in relationship with everything.
Right.
And it's like, at the end of the day, money is actually a form of love.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it has a lot to do with your relationship with love.
And what is love?
It's energy. It's life. It's source.
And for many people, that's God.
Yeah.
Right? God is
for
love.
A lot of people, that's God. Yeah.
And I talk about this in my secret chapter. It's not in the book. It's in the online class, the Money Formula Academy. And I talk about establishing what is your ultimate relationship. Because we put our money relationships with our husbands. For me, for a long time, it was my husband. For some people, it could be a boss. Like I've had many clients who put their financial relationship with a boss or with a job, and then when that is not stable and it's not unconditional and it's not providing, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh my God, a relationship with money, oh, it's horrible. But when we establish a connection, a financial connection to love and God, then everything starts to open up, and then it really feels unconditional, ever flowing, infinite, free. And that's the secret chapter that I talk about. And you're dead on. It's almost like you psychically figured out the secret chapter.
Yeah, I probably did. Well, it's because I've lived it, but I also think it's another point I just wanted to bring up, because we're getting ready to close out, but there's another important part that's coming in, is that you're not doing it wrong if you run up against some obstacles with money.
Right.
You're not messing it up, and you're not doing it wrong. Like, if you're like praying every day, and then you have these obstacles. No, there's something there for you that you're being invited to witness, that you're being invited to see. And if you're like a light worker and you're leading this movement, to change the whole way that money is architected in our society, then you're doing a piece on behalf of the collective. So you've got to also realize that you are embodying the solution as you figure out your own life. Like, as you figure it out in your own being, you're embodying part of the solution for everybody. So sometimes
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I needed that.
Yeah, you need that too. Maybe that's why I needed to say that. But because we get this as light workers, creating a whole new paradigm, we get this imposter syndrome comes in, like this feeling. And really it's because we're creating a whole new model. It's like we're making a whole new building, and like with a different foundation, and the old building is crumbling, it's just crumbling down, and people are like, whoa, and then we just have to steadfast build a new building.
Right.
That's it.
Right. We're a part of something that maybe we might not even live to see,
We might though. Things are,
I hope,
things are really quick.
Keep my pineal gland uncrusted. You know what I mean? Just clean it up a little bit.
We cleaning that up all the time. A little rattling, a little rattle here, a little rattle there. And that is a really important part too. Clean your energy body. Like, seriously, the only way to get through this muck as a light worker is to clean your energy every day. Like,
that's right.
Every day, get rid of the fear that you're picking up from other people and their paradigms and all this stuff. You just got to cleanse, and get it out of there, because it's not the truth.
Spiritual hygiene. Absolutely. And I feel like my book is a part of that spiritual hygiene. It's not the only way. It brings a perspective to an aspect of our lives. I claimed not to be a Harvard economics professor or anything like that. I claim to be somebody who has helped a lot of people, over 30,000 people, change their careers, their relationship with money, and even having to finally, after getting to all these people, do it on myself, so it is.
Yeah, you have to take your own medicine.
Finally do it myself. And you know what I mean? So it's really about looking at this as just one of the tools that will help you look at your relationship to money, your relationship to others, and resolve how you get your abundance and create that. It's a spiritual hygiene tool. Absolutely. And one of many that I hope everyone gets on their path. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And then clean that pineal gland.
Yeah, you got to clean that up regularly. So tell us about, how can people get involved with your work that you're doing, especially with the Women's Financial Freedom Tour? Like, how can people get involved with that?
Well, we're starting in San Diego's North County. That's going to be in October and November, and we're going to be focusing on the cities in North County, San Diego. So Encinitas, Carlsbad, Oceanside, Vista, Fallbrook, San Marcos. Come and check us out. We'll be helping women get more financially literate, but really beginning the conversation, the beginning of this new journey, and hopefully a revolution on women's financial freedom. So come and join us. We're at themoneyformula.leslieinc.org. Become a community organizer if you're in the community. And if you're not in San Diego, reach out to us. We are open to going to other places down in the year as we continue on this path. And if you want more resources, come to that page, themoneyformula.leslieinc.org. Get our zine as we talk about money, financial freedom for women, and be a part of it. And I really recommend getting the book, The Money Formula, because it will really help start a path especially for women. We really need to start having really productive conversations.
Yeah. And, so on the way out, I just want to say a couple things. One thing is when you face money or any difficult subject and it starts getting really like icky, the best thing to do is just freaking laugh. Like, honestly, laughter yoga is a real thing. Like, it like just breaks up the energy of it because you realize this is all just it's a stage. It's like Shakespeare said, life is but a stage. And
that's right.
All actors playing out roles.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like realize that and laugh, have a good laugh about it and go, wow, you really got me, money.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Yeah. The same thing for me. The first story in the book, I'm talking about myself, and it's kind of embarrassing, but you got to laugh at it and you got to have a sense of humor about it and make money your friend and make it your best friend. And that is a relationship that there's nothing else like it.
Awesome. Well, definitely check out Leslie's work. The links and your offers are in the email that you'll be getting from me. And so definitely check that out. And if you're interested, of course, in finding out what butterfly medicine is all about, transformation, total transformation and awakening, then check out my website, carriehummingbird.com/gift. And there's an ebook there for you, Reinvent Yourself. Indulge your deepest desires by becoming who you truly are starving to be. So there we go. Thank you so much, Leslie. And thank you everybody for tuning in to Soul Nectar Show. And
thank you.
Taking that brave journey into finding out some more things about yourself that you could be exploring.
Amen.
All right. I give everybody kisses. Here they come. You can join me if you want. Here come the kisses.
I'll take that.
Yeah. Love you guys. I'll see you next week on Soul Nectar. Bye, everybody.
Bye.